Welcome back to another reaction of Bad Batch of Season 3. We're on the final, or the second to last episode, and as you guys can tell, we're all together. We're back again. The boys have been gone for 3.5 months, and we're finally together before we're probably not going to be back for another 3.5 months. So we decided to make the best of it and join together. So I'm excited to have Jason and Jake back with us here. So so let's just get right into it. Biggest thing that we want to talk about, I guess we're going to talk about the episode, but there are some crazy things that happen towards the end of it, and I'm excited to see what your guys' thoughts are. So let's jump in and just get some overall, just general feelings and general thoughts. This is the second to last episode, guys. We have one more episode left. Like, what are your guys' thoughts? What are you guys thinking about right now?
I mean, all I'll say is, they really teased us in Ahsoka. They teased us again in Bad Batch. I thought we were going to get AP5 in this episode right from the start. I was like, bro, don't tell me they got AP5 here. But it wasn't. No, I thought it was overall reaction. Great episode. I liked the pacing of it. I liked the action. It feels like something's actually happening in the show now. Obviously, this season hasn't felt a ton like filler to us. It feels like the plot's been moving along, but I feel like in this episode we saw a lot with Echo and Emery, as well as the Bad Batch kind of getting to Tantis, and as well some of Omega's discoveries towards the end of the episode. So I personally thought it was a pretty strong episode. But
yeah. Super strong episode. The Echo Emery dialogue with Echo's entire break into Tantis. And, I mean, Omega's kind of a dog. She kind of is.
That's some boldness.
She balled out.
Yeah.
She did. So, also the Zillow Beast. Little mention right there. Little tease. So, we can kind of already speculate on how they're going to break out.
Yeah.
But yeah, great episode.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, that was probably one of the strongest points for me was just the dialogue between some of the action, especially with like Rampart and how he's just the coward that he is, but there were some interesting connections between what he was saying with Crosshair, right? And I thought that was very interesting to kind of go back to and be like almost him trying to tempt Crosshair. So we'll get back into that, but yeah, like as they were saying, like starting off, Bad Batch makes it to Tantis, right? And it kind of cuts to Echo kind of doing things on the ship before they get on, right? Or before he tries to find his way back onto the base. And I thought that was kind of cool because Jake and I were watching it together, and I think both of us kind of had the same thought when Echo's kind of, trying to get all the manifests and stuff, but then he ends up finding the AP droid that was like, no, you guys can't. Like, he can't be here, and he just shoots him and then takes his hand. And so I thought it was like, finally, this is the one thing that we've been asking ever since we found him.
Echo finally got a hand.
Yeah, on Skako Minor. He finally has a hand. And
we don't have to dive into, like, how that works. Because it's like, would that really work? You can just pull the hand off and just plug it, plug and play. I don't know if it's that easy. But I was like, yo, we're here for it. We're here for it.
Well, it felt like he couldn't do anything with the hand. It was
right.
Like,
it was just there.
It literally was just like...
Just to cover up.
Yeah, so people don't think that there's just this weird dude without a hand carrying a gun, So
yeah,
it was just a funny little like side piece that all of a sudden he just decides to go get a hand. But I thought that was super cool because he did all of this. Like he was super covert and all that stuff, and he was doing a lot of cool moves and making sure that like he can stay sneaking onto the base, which I thought was cool that he was able to take a stormtrooper's armor and like started wearing a stormtrooper's armor because we didn't see like. Bad Batch hasn't really done that, right? They either hide themselves as kind of civilians, or they just wear their regular armor or something. But we never see them kind of sneak in. It's kind of like the beginning parts, right? That was kind of like a original trilogy move where they take the stormtrooper armor and use it as kind of like disguise. So I thought that was super cool. I really liked that. But kind of going on. I mean, do you guys have any thoughts about that? Anything about Echo's?
Well, I think the only thing I would add to that is I liked that he there was definitely that amount of trust that Hunter and Crosshair and Wrecker had in Echo, and that just kind of speaks to what happens kind of outside of the actual TV show, right? They're going on these missions together, they're doing stuff, and Echo spent so much time away from the Bad Batch, but I did like how all of the Bad Batch in this episode were focused on the same mission, which is getting Omega, right? And you see it from the beginning of the episode when they come out of hyperspace, because you have Hunter and Crosshair and Wrecker, when they detach from the ship, they're like, yo, what's Echo going to do, you know?
Right.
And Hunter's like, he's good. You know, he knows what the mission is. He'll find a way to get off. And then at the same time, too, when they crash down onto the planet, we have the two groups, right? You have Hunter and Rampart, and then Crosshair and Wrecker. And Wrecker's like, oh, we got to find Hunter or whatever. And Crosshair's like, no, he's moving towards you know, where he needs to go. And so I liked that they had that dynamic of, you know, we're centered on the task, and even though Echo's been away from the Bad Batch, they still have the trust in him to complete the mission, and he performed, right?
Right.
So,
well, and I'll continue it on with like Omega, right? They trusted Echo to just keep going. Omega they hear the rumbling, and Omega's like, all right, that's my cue.
Yeah.
Go. And like she hasn't hesitated once to lead the specimen or try and break out. And somehow, I don't know how she managed to get back into the cell this time.
That was crazy.
I thought there was no way this time. But it was really cool to see like how she follows suit as well in that regard of you know, completing the mission.
Right. And I thought that I totally agree, and I kind of want to go towards that part where, you know, Hunter and Rampart and Crosshair and Wrecker, they crash onto Tantis. They're in the middle of the jungle, and there's this little exchange. I mentioned it at the beginning, but like there's this little exchange between Rampart and Crosshair where he was just like, "Hey, you were just like me at one point, right?" I don't know if you guys remember this, but like this was something that like hit me because he was basically trying to tug at what was left of Crosshair's imperialism, right? And I thought that was super cool. Kind of Crosshair just basically shutting him down, be like, "No, I've changed. This isn't who I am. Like the Empire betrayed me. My brothers didn't betray me." Like he's starting to come to that realization where it's like, because at the beginning it was like, "No, you betrayed me. You're the one that left me behind," right? Crosshair was telling this to Hunter, and he's like, but now it's kind of come to this flip where he's like, "No, I've come to a clarity. You, Rampart, the Imperials, they betrayed us. You guys, like, I am here for my brothers. I'm here for them, and I trust them." And I thought that was super cool. I don't know if you guys have anything to say about that, but I really liked the dialogue.
Yeah, no, I liked there was a pretty cold comment as well when Rampart is like, oh yeah, you know, like, good soldiers follow orders, you know? And it's like, I thought that's what you believed. And Crosshair's like, yo, it depends who's given the order, you know? And so I agree. Definitely shows how far Crosshair's come. And I like that part too. He talks a lot about, and this is more to Wrecker, but he said, you know, Omega didn't leave me on Tantis, you know? There's like a brief exchange about that.
Right.
But it's cool to see he does feel that loyalty to Omega, because the last time he was here, Omega was the one who broke him out. You know, they worked together, but like she came back for him. And so he's like, yo, we got to get the job done. So I thought, dialogue was strong in this episode.
Yeah,
definitely.
that was super cool. But yeah, I mean, going towards one of the strongest points is Omega's interactions. Well, I guess going towards Echo's interaction with Emery before that, right? I thought that was super cool, and I don't know, Jason, you can take it ahead, but it wasn't something that I expected, but I'm actually really glad that we had it.
Yeah, I loved that Emery called him Echo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she recognized his arm, and it just was like, okay, so Emery, we knew she had sympathy for Omega and gave her the doll, but now it's like she actually really liked Omega enough to like actually like pay attention and listen to what she was telling her. And so she knew Echo, she knew about Echo, she knew probably about the rest of Bad Batch, and when Echo responded and was like, oh yeah, here's our actual plan. We're not just breaking Omega out, we're breaking everyone out.
Right.
You know? And I was so glad to hear Emery. First Emery says, like, oh, I was doing my job. And he's like, yeah, I've heard that before.
Right.
Like every good soldier follows orders, right?
Right.
And then, but she obviously said that in a sense of, I'm doing it as like Nala Se was doing it.
Right.
I've been just trying to keep it as slow as possible, kind of thing. And so she's now turned the point on our end. We can see that she's ready to help them escape.
Right.
But, you know, Hemlock has no idea. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that dynamic moves forward. But Echo, I feel like, is already the most trusting member of the Bad Batch, even more than Wrecker. And so I felt like that was the perfect clone to interact with Emery first.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Crosshair, no shot. Like, that is... She's getting a shot through the chest.
Straight up.
Or at least she's getting knocked unconscious or something.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, he would choose violence for sure.
Yeah, but Echo's the ARC trooper. Echo's the one with the background being a reg, you know.
Right.
And I just think his reason is past the whole stay together because it's Order 66, right? He got that higher reasoning, I think.
Right.
And so that was a great scene. It was exactly how the fan base wanted to see Emery, I think, and Echo handled it great.
Well, I think, that's what I've been waiting for since the beginning of the season, right? Like, in our episode 1 review, my whole thought process is, Emery's going to be the key in the end, right? She's going to be the make or break point, or like a potential big ally for Omega, or potentially for the Bad Batch, right? At the start of the season, Omega's in prison and, all that stuff. And you think Emery's going to be an ally. And we've been waiting episode after episode to see this change, but she was just kind of stagnant, right? She was just there. Nothing's really happening. And this was the episode that finally, right now, at a glance, right?
Right.
Appears like she's finally made that change, and she's like, I'm here for the clones and I'm here for my brothers, not just here to follow orders and do what the Empire tells us to.
Yeah.
So while it was a long time in the making, I think it was a good payoff in this episode to know, okay, she's on board. We don't really know what the plan is, but she's like, hey, you're going to have to trust me, and that's the only way we're getting through this. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Agreed. That is super cool. But now continue on, kind of towards the end of the episode, we had that interaction with Omega and kind of her, again, like we've seen her take charge with the group of the force sensitive kids and stuff. And now it's like, okay, things are coming to a head. She was able to kind of scope things out and discovered a super big secret, right? Which we knew that there was something to do with the Zillo Beasts due to interactions, in the last season. And it's going to be, I was waiting for that to come back, and I'm actually super excited to be like, because I knew at the beginning, I mentioned this in one of our other reactions, but I'm like, they're going to have to destroy Tantus, the base somehow, the lab. And I'm like, I'm just wondering to see, are they just going to, plant explosives in their, like, the power core or whatever? Kind of
Death Star practice run, blow it up.
Right. Or so, that would be cool. I'd be okay, yeah.
Zillo Beast gets loose, the only way to take the entire planet out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm wondering if maybe that's going to be the case where they're just going to let him free, and it's just going to go on a rampage and just destroy everything, and that's how it's going to come to be, right? And so
I think if they didn't show Omega watching the Zillo Beast kind of get tortured or kind of get handled, then I would have been more upset because we wouldn't have had a little hint at how the plan is going to be executed, right? Because it would have been like, okay, now they're on the base, and now we get one episode for them to share the plan, execute the plan, and hearts get ripped out. So I think
every member of the Bad Batch dies.
At least
we're having a rogue one.
Where Omega's getting an idea of how to escape. Right.
And I'm like super ready for that. Like I wasn't expecting that at all, but I knew something had to be with like, okay, they're gonna, release everyone, but this is gonna be that classic, base is blowing up, everyone's trying to escape, they're going to get them on a ship and, fly them out of here. But this is going to be completely different.
But it almost makes me wish we binged this season. Because now we got to sit here for a week.
Yeah.
It's true. But it does give us some anticipation of what's coming next, right? And I would be interested to hear what you guys' thoughts are on that as far as, your predictions. Obviously, you said hearts get broken.
Yeah.
My mind right now is like, they're going to find a way to get all the clones and Omega onto some type of ship. And then they're flying them out, and Batches staying to blow everything up.
Yeah.
That's my early prediction. Like straight up heavy, dude. We're going straight back to Rookies. The episode of Clone Wars. Heavy's blowing up the base. That's really the only way that I see this ending is
the whole Bad Batch gone.
Maybe I think everyone in the Bad Batch except for maybe one of them. It's gonna be like Halo Reach all over again, right?
I can't see. I don't know.
That's where I'm at.
Crosshair's gone. That's how
I think he's gonna die taking out the operative, bro.
Yeah, probably.
They haven't. The
operative's gonna take off his helmet. It's gonna be Crosshair clones looking at each other, and they're gonna die fighting each other, bro.
I don't know, man.
That's my prediction.
Well, and Echo, right? He's such a question mark.
I know. Me and Lucas were talking about that today. I'm like, Star Wars is gonna bring Echo back so I can live through the heartbreak of him dying again. We have the Citadel all over.
Yeah. But it's going to be interesting. I wonder if they because I feel like they haven't done anything with Wrecker yet. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering if they either
in Season 1, he was the one attacking them with Chip. That was kind of his big thing with Season 1.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, now he's kind of like always been on Omega's side. he's always kind of like had that special like almost like kid brother sister connection. But I wonder if maybe they're either going to keep him so he'll be the one that you're saying that like is the alive member, and the rest of them are dead because all of them else have been kind of like father figures to.
No, dude, we know Dave too well, bro. If it's anything, he's killing the gentle giant, bro. He's gonna send Omega off and just like
George,
right, straight up. Yeah, no,
Reach has been good to me.
Yeah, dude, he's gonna die thinking you saved Reach. That's what's
dude.
gonna happen, bro.
Oh,
I don't know. It's gonna be painful, but I don't know. Maybe it's Wrecker, maybe Crosshair, maybe. But what if they give Crosshair the redemption and he gets to ride off into the sunset?
True. What if they throw a curveball at all of us and be like, everyone's alive? We don't know what's going to happen.
That would be wild. After the series finale of Bad Batch.
That would be such an element.
I know. Save any member. Yeah, we'll save them all except Tech. Screw that guy, bro.
Tech needed to die. Everyone else
surprise.
died.
Lucas actually helped them write the last season. He was like, screw that guy, dude. Get Tech out of here.
No way.
Dude, rip Tech, bro. Gosh.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, look at that was. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what's going on. It's kind of interesting already because the Bad Batch haven't even made it to the base yet, right?
Yeah, true. They're
still in the middle of the forest, and so it's like.
Do you remember last week we were so concerned about that? Like, they hadn't got the tents yet. They still.
It's true.
Right.
Echo's the only one who's there.
That's literally been my issue.
But I think it's a testament too of. They didn't have to get to the base for Omega to start the operation.
Right, exactly.
And,
it's not like Omega's sitting there twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah, and also they're showing. I've made this comparison, but the Ezra season 1 to season 4, Ezra's taking the lead. Not saying she's taking the lead because they're having their whole operation to get her out, right? But she's taking the lead in her own circumstance.
Yeah, they're gonna meet in the middle.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, "We're here to save you." Be like, she's like, "I'm breaking out though."
Oh yeah,
what are you guys doing?
Right.
She's gonna be riding it. She's gonna lasso it. No, but my one thing for this next episode is I hope it's longer.
It will be.
No.
It has to be at least an hour. I just don't know if they can do
40 minutes. I don't know.
I bet they do us dirty. It's gonna be 36 minutes.
Yeah, right.
20, you're expecting that
with
the
a
double
5-minute credit.
the double feature, and it's 36 minutes.
Yeah, right. Ugh.
Yeah,
but
no, we need a longer episode to tie everything up. Honestly,
I agree because if you think this is the last episode of Bad Batch, this is it. We're not getting any more.
Yeah.
And so it's what? How are they going to tie it up? That's my biggest thing. So, I mean, other than that, I don't have anything else to kind of talk about. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to bring up?
I was so happy to see Echo get a huge role. He's been so dead in the season. Just not even in half the episodes.
Right, and
we
season
were robbed.
Too.
I mean, I don't think this is a hot take. Maybe this is a hot take. I felt like we were robbed of Cody this season. And Wolf. And so the fact that Echo gets a moment, this is kind of his moment.
Right.
I feel like. Then I was glad for that. I don't know. I thought Cody was not gonna just get the one episode.
I didn't think so either.
I felt like that was more of just a fun cameo for the fans. I would be surprised if they brought Cody back. I feel like that was Disney and Dave Filoni and the Clone Wars era, whatever. I thought that was their nod to hey, he can ride off into the sunset. We don't have to know what happened to him, right? We don't have to kill him in some gruesome way and make him depressing, right? But we don't have to leave him on the snow where he's trying to kill Kenobi, and that's the last, the last moment, right? He was able to go on a dope mission with Crosshair, one of the coolest episodes from last season. But at the same time too, I felt like for me, his story was ended there, right? It's open ended. We don't know where he goes. Could he come back for sure? But I felt like for them saying, "Oh, he defected, he's gone," was enough kind of closure to be okay, no, he went to find something better than the Empire, and he wasn't just some brainwashed clone, right?
You sound like a 212 stand, bro.
Dude, you know me.
I
ride with the 501st. Okay, I have the Fortnite skin. Okay, I'm just kidding. Been playing Battlefront 2. Got that 501st skin as well.
Sorry, go ahead. Finish
and I was just gonna say, I do feel though we were robbed of Wolf. I feel like Wolf was brought in under the pretense of we're gonna see his change and what leads him to Star Wars Rebels, right, with Rex. But he's been gone. So I feel that more for Rex or for Wolf than I do for Cody.
And there's always that season 3 finale of Rebels ending where the Rebel Alliance shows up to save them, like to help out.
True.
Right? Or Ezra goes to Mandalore, grabs help, they come fight.
Right.
Season 1 ending of Rebels, they bring in the Rebel fleet to come help.
Yeah.
There's always that chance that Hunter's been talking to Rex or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're going to come in and help. Do I think that they should? No.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe unless they execute it really well. But, I agree. Like, I think Wolf was...
Yeah. I mean, I think there's no way Dave Filoni's just going to leave that open-ended, with Wolf at least, right? But if they're going to create... Maybe that'll be the next Tales of the Clones or something, right?
Tales of the Rebellion.
Tales of the Rebellion or something.
Tales of the Jedi.
Which
Tales
we
of the
could
Empire.
see that, like, maybe Cody does make an appearance in that too, right? Because if you're going to have a reg like Wolf, how are you not going to have Cody as well? You could have Cody in there as well. So, I don't know. A lot of interesting thoughts and theories. But, all right, so how about we go ahead and end this, or rate each of our episodes. So, we'll start off with you, Jake.
Yeah, obviously I think it was a great episode. I'd go a lot higher. I give this a 9.25 out of 10. This one had a big jump for me. I think I love the action sequences.
I would love to see the scale of your ratings.
Oh, for sure.
Like, have you ever given something a 9?
Yeah, and
Towards
Ahsoka, probably. Or,
for sure. No, in Bad Batch,
Bad Batch.
I think at the beginning of the season, I had a couple 9s.
Okay.
1 or 2. It's been slow for me the past few episodes. Yeah. This was a big jump for me. Again, we make the comment they haven't actually made it to Tanta's base yet, but I feel like the aspects of the episode really delivered for me. In the action, we have boots on the ground on the planet now. Omega's working on her end, and we had excellent communication between Echo and Emery, and that's something I've been waiting for the whole season, is what's Emery's role going to be. And I feel like we saw that change. We see Echo's character development, so I thought it was a great episode.
Nice. Yeah, so I am a 9.5.
Wow.
So I loved last episode. I think I gave that an 8.75. This one even better than that, 9.5. Praying the next episode's a 10.
It's gotta be.
I just think the execution, if we sat down and binged the last 2 and the next episode, I think it would be hitting the money 100%. And because we have to wait, obviously we judge something with what we only get to see right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to get the full picture. And so with that in mind, I just don't think it missed on any level for what it offered. Now, we just speculated on Wolf or Cody or whatever. Obviously, there's those outside factors, but for like this episode alone, 9.5. I love that you start the episode and the soundtrack changes, and it's like more intense, and then it ends with the Lumi medical facility vibe, and like you just know where it's going. And so I think I was locked for 20 whatever minutes it was. So great episode. One of the best of the entire 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean. I think you can see how the tables have shifted here, because I think I'm going to give it a little bit, I'm going to give it less than what you guys did. I'm going to go 8.75, because it was still a great episode, and that's probably one of the highest episodes that I've rated so far of the season, but it still left a little bit more to be desired. Like, I'm excited that we kind of have the plan and everything kind of set of how Omega's going to do it, but I'm just like, it just made me think there's a lot that the next episode's going to have to set up, and if there's not enough time, I feel like they're going to have to rush it, and so that's kind of what made me nervous. And so, which is funny, because then I think about this episode, and there's not really a lot I would, like, shift around, you know?
You just wished it wasn't the 14th episode. You wish it was
like the 13th or 12th.
Yeah. Exactly. If it was like the 13th episode, that would have been perfect, because then the next episode would have been like, okay, we're starting to ramp up, and then give it enough time for like something crazy to happen so that they can have to like adapt, or they have to like covert something, right?
Yeah.
Because you're left thinking, oh, what's going to happen, right? Like something bad has happened, but they're going to, restore it in the end. Mm-hmm. But this one, it's like, okay, there's a lot riding on episode 15.
So do you still think that this show's ending on Tantus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, but that's the thing.
Do you think it is?
I mean, the first episode of the first season was an hour and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If they did the same thing for the finale, there is a great argument that it does not end on Tantus.
That's true.
Now, if it's 20 minutes, it's ending on Tantus.
Right.
But if it's 45,
I would think if it's 40, the majority of the episode has to be on Tantus.
Yeah.
Right. And it could be like a last few minutes where it's like kind of laying all the tiles flat, right? It's like where everything's kind of going to that new normal we're going to be living with after episode 15. So
burying the dead.
I hope not.
You'll bring that one up.
But yeah, so 8.75 for me. So
welcome back, everybody. This is the final series reaction review to the series finale of the Bad Batch. We had that come out the other day. We've had the opportunity to watch that. But yeah, we'll go ahead and dive right in. I'll start off with just kind of some general reactions, pass it around, and then we'll get into kind of the specifics of the episode. But my kind of overall take with it, I think it was a really safe episode with a really non-typical ending for Star Wars. But I feel like for me and for kind of the overall vibe of the show, it kind of checked all the boxes. Do I think there was anything wild or crazy about the ending? Not really. But I was satisfied after watching it. So that's still pretty broad, I guess. But I'll throw it over to you guys, Lucas and Jason. Here, kind of your overall reaction to the finale.
Yeah, I mean, I can ditto what you said because it's this finale really, I guess it gave me what I was missing in the last two episodes, right? Things you guys have known, you guys listened to the other previous episodes. I was just wanting a little bit more to happen and kind of like progress the story. And this episode checked all the boxes, and I was actually really excited to see how everything turned down. I'm really happy, you know, spoilers, no one died. So that was probably my biggest thing. So I was happy about that. Um, but it's still like there were still some risks and rewards that came through it. And I was actually really excited. And especially the very end, we got to see a glimpse of something super cool. So I really, really enjoyed that.
Well, the only thing I can add, other than that, I thought it was amazing was I thought that they were gonna keep any remnant of Project Necromancer alive, and they didn't. So that kind of was a little surprising to me that Rampart and Nalase did play a larger role than what I thought. But fantastic episode, and just adding TL's point about no one dying, it added significance to Tech's death
For
because
sure.
no one else died. So he kind of was like the sacrifice for the team. So who would have thought that he'd be the only one? We all were speculating Crosshair. We were all speculating a lot of things.
Echo,
And yeah,
Wrecker,
and
dude.
Wrecker,
Wrecker looked like it at the beginning, dude. I was like,
Oh yeah.
the
Wrecker's not
fit,
making it.
bro, for reals. He's like hardly breathing. He's like walking through the forest. He's like, I can make it. And he's like stumbling. And I was like, bro's gonna keel over. He's like, he's gonna pull a dogma and just be like, you know what, bro's like, live to fight another day. I'll stay back and and die, sacrifice. So glad it
But
didn't
dude, he
happen.
went from I'm about to die to probably like the most crazy fighting I've ever seen him ever do.
Right, like the strongest he's been.
Yeah, I thought for sure when when like the CX squad had like trapped them and they were all locked up and Omega like only loosens Wrecker's chains, I was like, bro, Wrecker's going out here, dude. This is it. But yeah, like you guys said, very surprising they chose to keep everyone. I felt like for the show as a whole, it was pretty on brand. Like obviously Tech's death hit us really hard, but like you said, Jason, the fact that everyone kind of makes it through here, I think that does definitely deepen Tech's sacrifice. And he was able to sacrifice for the team, and now they're still all around to be there for Omega. So, anyways, yeah, let's get into some details about the episode. I think one strong point that you already mentioned, Jason, that I'd love to pull apart is Nala Se and Rampart. I feel like had one of the both of them took a really prominent role, and I think it was one of the darker aspects of the show. But I really liked it. I think Nala Se up to this point has been kind of pointless for me. I'm like, who is this chick? But she just went out heavy style and was like, bro, we're not taking prisoners here, man. Like they're not getting the research. So what are you guys' thoughts on that interaction there?
I honestly feel like we've thought that Kaminoans were absolute bots until like season 3 of Bad Batch. They're just kind of like annoying and dumb, and they go against fives, right? They're against fives in season 6 of Clone Wars, and so we never like them really. And then now I'll say when she has that interaction with Emery like earlier in the season, it's like, oh shoot, like this is she actually like cares about Omega, and ended up, making the huge sacrifice to erase all the data. But I was hoping Rampart was going to change at some point. I was like, bro, where's Callus? We've been talking about it for episodes,
Yeah.
and he clearly didn't. And I liked that, honestly. I liked that he didn't because it gave him his own twist and happy ending. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'll stand by it, bro. I said it back in the day. Like he was with the Bad Batch, but at the end of the day, he's just looking out for himself. He's full Imperial, full Imperial. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, he even says that, right? In the last episode when he's talking to Crosshair and he goes, "You're just like me. Like we just tend to look out for ourselves in the end." And that's exactly what he did, but Nala say, which it was kind of funny too, because I wonder if there's gonna be some offshoot that Dave Filoni's gonna do to connect it with the the clones that we see in Mandalorian. Um, and so it's gonna because I'm assuming that has to be part of Project Necromancer, right? Because that's basically what we assumed. Because it's interesting because we haven't really seen exactly what Project Necromancer is. We've only speculated, right? There's force sensitive kids. They're doing tests on clones to check their M count, right? And what we've kind of put everything together based off context clues but we haven't gotten anything, we haven't received anything definitive. And this is especially clear when Nala say or when Rampart shows up and goes, "Tell me everything about Project Necromancer." And then the scene cuts. And then when they come back to them, he's like, "Oh, that is very interesting," right? So it's like he's told the entire story, but the story dies with him when Nala say ends up blowing up the entire lab. And that is super interesting because it's like there's this still like massive question mark on what exactly is Project Necromancer. And that was even cooler after he destroyed the lab when Tarkin comes in and goes like after the aftermath and then says reroute all the funds to Project Stardust, which we know is the building of the Death Star. And that is cool. I love that. Like it was such a little minor detail, but it was so cool to see everything kind of connect.
yeah. Well, and I felt like
and
in some aspects you could look at that kind of interaction and then writing Project Necromancer out for the moment as kind of, we're just covering our bases. We're going to make it easy and say, okay, yeah, they ended Project Necromancer. All the funding went to Stardust. Tarkin he's a backstabber. He's trying to get his agenda pushed through the whole time. And so great. That's an easy way to kind of write that out. But I do think it was interesting. I actually just finished the campaign for Star Wars Battlefront 2 yesterday. And
great campaign.
yeah, amazing
It's so
campaign.
good, actually.
Great campaign.
Really, really good. We'll have to talk about that one another one because I was surprised. I was texting Lucas about it, and it's sleeper. People sleep on that. So, but it
True.
was cool because they have kind of like a post credit epilogue where you play as Kylo Ren and you're going through like Dell's memories and stuff while he's trying to find the map to Luke Skywalker, all that. Then you have some dialogue about some type of like Project Resurrection or something similar to Project Necromancer. And then you said, Lucas, as well, it has that tie into Mandalorian. So I'd be interested, kind of some question marks with me with this final episode is, does funding and all knowledge of Project Necromancer disappear and is taken away entirely, or moving forward, does it become something that the emperor sets up with somebody else in a different location, right? Because obviously the emperor had his hand in everything. But I think there has to be some aspect of it that lives on. Although for the moment it appears, all the funding has been directed towards the Death Star at this point. So I thought it was an excellent tie-in, a good way to wrap up the show. But I think there's definitely got to be something more because it carries on to that next generation. So
Right.
yeah. Um, but yeah, anyways, back to kind of the main storyline. Would love to get you guys' thoughts on just kind of the overall vibe of the team, the Bad Batch, and also the introduction of this new kind of CX squad that we got to see as well. And the reveal, non-reveal in the end, right? Everyone was speculating. We've been speculating for the whole season, who are these assassins, whatever. And we didn't get a reveal. So would love to hear you guys' thoughts on that and how you felt about that in the episode.
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me, honestly, when you said nothing crazy happened, I was like, wait a second. I totally disagree with that because Crosshair getting his hand cut off was ridiculous. I thought that was
Crazy.
like a huge part because I
Mhm.
thought for the last 8 or 9 episodes we were gonna watch Crosshair overcome whatever he was gonna overcome and then get rid of the twitch or whatever and then hit the big shot. Well, what actually happens is his whole hand gets cut off and he doesn't have to deal with it anymore. And then he hits the big shot with his non-dominant hand, which is pretty dope. Like that was so cool. So
Yeah, and
that
when he
was a huge
supported on
moment for me.
Hunter too, when he's like supporting himself on Hunter and like aiming the gun on Hunter's shoulder, that was sick. Because
Yeah.
he's like
Dude, there
he's
was so
not used
much
to the hand.
confidence building between them. Like at the beginning, Crosshair's like, I need to go alone. Like, you guys need to be there for Omega. And they're like, no, we're going together. And then Wrecker's like, they're like, Wrecker, you need to stay back. He's like, I'm going. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop me. And then like
Yeah.
Hunter and Crosshair are like half dead in those cells. And they're like, we got to go after Omega. And like, Crosshair, you should stay back. And Crosshair's like, absolutely not. Like, we're all seeing this through together. I thought that was so
Yeah.
cool.
No, I love that aspect too. I think there was a lot of aspects of like the whole team, right? I love, Lucas, what you brought up too. The final shot, right? He's resting on Hunter's shoulder. He's missing his dominant hand, like you said. That was like shock factor for sure when they cut it off. But yeah, definitely full team effort, and kind of speaking more towards that final sequence, right, with them on the bridge and the rain and everything. I love after he makes the shot. Well, one, Omega has the confidence in Crosshair to make the shot, right? She trusts and she's like, hey, I know you're loose, but you're gonna dial in when you need to.
Right.
But then two, after he makes the shot, she comes running across the bridge, and who does she jump onto and hug? She hugs Crosshair, right? And then obviously she hugs Hunter too, but just such an emotional scene, really. And I think they played it off really well. When I saw the cover on Disney Plus for the new episode, it was like Omega like crying in the rain, and I was like, dude, she's just gonna watch like the whole batch die right here, dude. Like that's what that shot is from. But no, like the fact that that was like kind of a holistic ending point of like we've taken out Hemlock, Omega's finally kind of in a place where she's safer, was super special.
Well, as with Bad Batch as a whole, in this discussion, they all had their moments. Wrecker breaking out of the when she unlocks
Yeah.
Wrecker and he just goes crazy, and then uh Crosshair hit the shot. How about Echo?
Yeah.
Being
Echoes.
he probably won the day. I mean,
Yeah,
he other than Crosshair shot, Echo in the toxic gas, just going crazy against like four of the CX troopers, um, rallying the other clones, breaking out everyone, talking like being with Emery. I mean, he was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, vital point. If he wasn't there to save Omega and the kids, like he would like they would have been captured again, right? And so it was a good thing that he found them first, and it was a good thing that he had that because if it wasn't for that confrontation with Emery, she probably wouldn't have had the guts to get up and be like, okay, this is my way to help them, right? She probably would have been like, well, I don't know what to do still. And so if it wasn't for Echo coming in and having that intervention with her, like I think that's the pivot point of what she's doing, right? And what caused her to turn. But yeah, I mean, kind of the CX troopers, you can kind of see they all had similar aspects to the Bad Batch, right? You had like the big tough guy. You kind of had the CX Trooper CX2 that we've seen with the sniper, right? Then you gotta have to do with the swords, but I'm assuming that's kind of like Hunter because Hunter always uses vibroblade and stuff. But it was cool because you could see that like, it was almost a direct match against the Bad Batch, and though the Bad Batch had like they were in like their weakened state, right? Except for Echo, which honestly I thought Echo was gonna die because every one of those clones that went in with him died. Like there was all of them basically just dropped, and I was like, great, it's Echo against these three dudes, like game over, right? And then it was good because it like kind of just all came together, and it was end up Bad Batch versus the CX Trooper Squad, which then
Dude, Wrecker drops in and grabs one of them and throws their head into the metal wall.
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, it's crazy. We knew Wrecker was strong, but the fact that he broke through his bindings, pulled up that thing like the little pod door, and then launched it across, knocking out like three of them, and then dropping the dude on the floor, and then it just shows how much stronger he actually was that we didn't realize, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, other than that, like to go to echo kind of what you guys have said about the that tender moment. You could see in Omega's eyes when she notices Crosshair's hand is gone. And she starts tearing up because she's like, look what he sacrificed, but he's still here for me, right? At least that's kind of the vibe I got. And also just our man Scorch just getting wrecked, bro. One of Delta Squad just getting absolutely
He
clapped.
got mutilated, dude.
Dude,
Yeah.
poor guy. Like he didn't have anything, right? He just like the bat just dropped him like it was nothing. So
Yeah, I think that was one area where it would have been cool to see. It's just tough to do the character justice, right? Because it's like maybe in some worlds, Scorch gets surrounded by all of like the escaped clones, and he has this like epic shootout where he takes out like tons of the clones, and then finally, after taking like 8 bullets, he goes down. But like just the fact that he's running across the bridge and gets like shot in the back by like Hunter and Crosshair, I was like, dude, rip all the Republic Commando fans in the chat. They'll be back for blood, dude.
yeah, hey,
But
there's still the rest of Delta Squad.
yeah, totally. I think one other aspect of the episode that I thought was going to be potentially a bigger point, but I felt like kind of wrapped it up well, was Lucas's background, the Zillo Beast. Obviously, we got to see kind of the closure of Zillo Beast, and I'm happy that they decided like what happens with him, because for years it's been, oh, the Emperor's trying to clone the Zillo Beast, trying to figure out how to use it for his like purposes. But at the end of the day, the batch broke it out. We don't see the Zillo Beast obviously in the OG trilogy or in the sequels. So I felt like it was a good way to kind of send that character, if you will, off and kind of give them a proper ending. And now, Zillo Beast just roaming around Tantus having a good time. So
Well, you got to remember too. Like we assumed after last week it was going to be the plot, and
right.
it turned
Right.
out to be the diversion.
Mhm.
And I
Right.
think that's
It's the
why I
little
really
plot point.
appreciated it, is because it didn't take away from what we wanted to see. It was there to help the plot go farther. So
Yeah,
I was glad
it
how it
was.
ended.
Yeah, it wasn't just saving the Space Forces, right?
Yeah.
No Star
Well,
Wars aid for us.
yeah, I was thinking it was going to be like this whole massive thing where the Zilbeast was just going to jump in and just cause the entire lab to go into like um to a critical like condition and everything, and then they're going to be escaping, like classic Star Wars where they blow up the ship and escape before it explodes, right? But it wasn't like I actually appreciate the way it was. It literally was the reason that gave Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair a way to get in, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately the way to get out. And so that was a cool point, and I was like, okay, I actually like that better than that just being the cliche. Have this massive monster go on a rampage and destroy the base. So I appreciated that.
That's good. All right. Well, any other thoughts generally? I think we'll move, unless you guys have more thoughts on that specific kind of sequence of them breaking in, getting Omega, doing all that. We can kind of move towards the ending of the episode. We get to see kind of the resolution of everything and this epilogue where they're back on Pabu.
Hey,
Yeah.
well, let's start with the resolution of Emery.
Yeah.
Let's start with that. She comes full circle, and she takes the kids to safety, and it was great to see her choose Omega, and to try and make amends to everything
Do the
she
right
did
thing.
wrong, and she found her opportunity, right? Because she couldn't really do anything in the moment of when she found out what she was doing was wrong, but when the opportunity came, she was able to make things right, and I did like that they gave her a good ending.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that was one aspect of the episode for me that felt very like on brand. Obviously it's still a kids show, for as much as, we see in it, it is still a kids show. And so I felt like, all along they were probably going to free the force sensitive kids, the kids with the high M count. And so I agree. It was good that Emery kind of got that moment to kind of make amends there. So, but yeah, back on Pabu, I guess we get to see they make it home. It seems like Pabu's kind of this, at least initial refuge for these clones that they free from there. And then they have a large aspect of the episode before kind of the time jump, where Hunter's kind of like, the clones can choose what they want to do now, and then you also have another aspect where Echo's like, hey, we can go to what's that place called where Senator Chuchi's from.
Oh, Pentora.
Pantora.
Pantora, yeah. So there's the whole idea of, the clones can go to Pantora, and Senator Chuchi again being such a pivotal character for the clones. But I liked this idea that they brought forth where they were like, the clones really have the choice of what they want to do with their destinies at this point, right? They're no longer slaves to the Empire. They're no longer soldiers in the Republic, but they're people, and it's like, okay, they can go and choose what their destiny is. And it seems like for the Bad Batch minus Omega, right, in the time jump, they were done, right? Like they'd fought enough wars, they were ready to like live out their days on Pabu and raise Omega. And for me, I felt like that was a very fitting kind of send off for them. And obviously, we could see more clones in other Star Wars adaptations, but yeah, obviously we have that time skip and we see Omega when she's older and an older hunter as well. So would love to hear you guys' thoughts on kind of that interaction and the resolution as a whole of, Omega kind of joining, or at least going off to join the rebellion, and that kind of final interaction with Hunter.
I don't want to nitpick. I don't. This episode was amazing. It was. I'm not trying to nitpick.
Here it
And I'm
comes.
gonna
The hot
I'm
take.
gonna I'm rounding up on my score too to prove that I don't want to nitpick. All right.
Yeah.
But we were robbed again of a final interaction from Omega with Wrecker, Omega with Crosshair, and Omega with Echo. We did not get that. And I was like, bruh, like, come on. Like, why not? Like, even if it was just kid form or if it was future form, either one, I was like, dang, I was hoping we were really gonna get that. But that's just that, like, that's not like me hating on the episode. I just was, they botched it
Okay.
with Ezra and Hera too, and Ezra and Sabine and
That's true.
Ahsoka. We've already talked about it. All right.
Okay, no, I agree with that. I actually agree. I'm more towards like I wish they would have had a final interaction when she was older. Like if it was Hunter kind of waiting in the cave when she's trying to sneak out. And I wish like they had that interaction with Hunter and Omega kind of being like when he's like, "Oh, you're our kid, you're always gonna be our kid," right? And then as she's getting onto the spaceship, onto the ship, I would have appreciated if like old Wrecker and old Crosshair came in, and were like wishing her goodbye. That is my one thing that I would change about the ending. But the rest of it was super cool. I honestly loved because I mean it felt so fitting for a clone to not waste time on like goodbyes necessarily, like especially when they were kids, because they're like, hey, we got to go to Pantora, we got to go like help the rest of the clones, and so it's kind of fitting that like they're walking onto the or Echo and Emery are walking onto the ship, and they just look at him, give him the little wave and leave, and then but the cool thing is like it's Omega and Batcher was sitting there kind of just observing the kids and observing the clone cadets and stuff. And then Hunter comes in and they have that little dialogue, which is super cool. And then Wrecker and Crosshair come and just sit next to them and they just have like that was kind of like the ending still, right? And I was like, I was like, even if it ended right there, I would have been totally okay with like it wouldn't have changed my thoughts of the show at all. Like I was like, this is a great way
But
to
because we got the extra,
but
then we want the goodbye.
because we've got the extra, it made it so much better. Because all of us, this entire show, thought this is going to be the last time we see the Batch, right? This is going to be the last time we see the Bad Batch. But Dave Filoni, being the dog that he is, being the absolute horse that he is setting it up for me like, yeah, the Bad Batch TV show is over, but this might not be the last time we get to see the Bad Batch, right? And someone I was reading on, I think it was on Twitter or something, and it might have been something that you sent, Jason, but someone was talking about how a clone that they're gonna do like a kind of like either they're like a Tales of the Jedi or something, talking about the clones in the rebellion and where like and how they were part of that. And I thought that was super cool because that means we're going to see we're going to see Wolf, we're going to see Cody, we're going to see the rest of the Bad Batch, we're going to see Omega, squatting up with some of the people of the rebellion, and that's going to be super cool. And yeah, so I agree with you, Jason, right there. The epilogue, my one little nitpick, it doesn't change at all my thoughts of like my ranking at all. Like I don't need it's my ranking is steadfast, but I would have appreciated seeing Echo Hunter and Crosshair or Echo Crosshair and Wrecker giving a goodbye to Omega when she's leaving to join the rebellion. So those are my
See,
thoughts.
I would, and I'm not like I wouldn't wholeheartedly disagree with you. I think hearing you guys talk about that, I'm like, okay, yeah, it would have been nice to see, but just thinking about like when I first watched it the other day, I honestly didn't really miss that. Like I felt like it would have been good to see now that you guys pointed out. But for me, I felt like we got to see, like you were describing, Lucas, Echo and Emery get on the ship, they fly away, they kind of give them the wave, whatever, and then we have that kind of zoom out shot where you have Omega's got her head on Hunter's shoulder, and then you have Echo and or Crosshair and Wrecker sitting there, and you have that kind of like zoom out shot, and you're like, okay, like that for me was like the goodbye. But I think that the impact of Hunter being the one in the cave, I think Hunter has been a father figure to Omega throughout the whole show.
Since
Whereas I
season one.
feel like Wrecker and Crosshair and Echo and Tech have all been brothers to her, right? So I feel like she looks at Wrecker in a different way than she looks at Hunter, right? If Hunter's like, hey, you're not playing Xbox tonight, she's like, great, I'm not playing Xbox, right? Like dad said no. But if it's Wrecker's gonna be like, dude, we're trying to like goof off tonight and have a good time, Like Wrecker's just like a brother to her. Whereas Hunter has always been the leader of the team. And so I felt like it was a really touching moment. Like you guys said, it definitely wasn't a bad thing. Nothing wrong with that scene. But I felt like it was very touching to have Hunter there and to hear their dialogue because he has been this father figure to her throughout the show. And I love the part in the end when he's like, like it's your life, like you're free to go and like join the rebellion. Our war is over and we're here, But he's like you're always like you were always our girl, like we were always raising you. And so that for me was just like super cool. And I think the perfect way to end the show and just has been the theme throughout all of Bad Batch hasn't been Empire versus Rebellion. It hasn't been these big galactic consequences. It's all been about keeping Omega safe and raising her and kind of shielding her from those things so that she could then make that decision. So I love that we got to see an older version of Omega finally kind of take control of her destiny and say, I need to do more by helping the rebellion. But it was her choice to make after Hunter and Wrecker and everyone else in the Bad Batch had given her that opportunity to kind of grow up and choose her destiny. So that's what I'd say about that scene.
Well, and here's the thing too. I think my wanting for that sentimental moment with the entire batch came after I started listening to the soundtrack in the credits. That song, guys, is the best song. I don't know if y'all listen to it. I don't. That song I think it's top 5. I think I'm putting it top 5 Star Wars soundtrack. I think I am.
That's big. That's big.
It's up there with Burying the Dead. It's up there with Across the Stars. It's up there with Duel of the Fates.
Star Wars
I was like shook. Dude,
incoming.
Star Wars that soundtrack, this season 3 soundtrack was on another level.
It was ridiculous.
They pulled the emotional strings better than a lot of other seasons of S tier content from Star Wars. So that was my huge takeaway at the end too, was wow, this finale soundtrack is just on another level.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything else to add, then we'll just get into to our ratings for the day. We'll have why don't you start us off, Lucas?
Yeah, 10. Easy 10. I just story driven, just action, just twists, everything that happened in this TV episode. And you can quote me on this, can match some of the Clone Wars and even Rebels episodes. And it finished the story in such a satisfying way that I'm like, I'm good. Like, if this is the last time I see the Bad Batch, I'm not gonna be in the Reddit posts getting all upset about it. I'm okay. I'm good. Like, this is great. And I think that's what Dave Filoni was trying to do. But he also being the dog that he is, left it open, right? It's not like open it. It's not like closed shut. We're never going to see the Bad Batch again. It's like, it might. So I'm like, okay, great. I mean, everything, like you said, Jason, soundtrack, just dialogue. Some of the dialogue was crazy. There's no way I can't not give this a 10. it's a solid and deserving 10.
Jason, what you
All
got?
right. Lucas, I'm taking it a step further than you did, man. So it's a 10 out of 10. All right. I gave last episode a 9.5. So the only way that this could be proportional is if this is a perfect 10. Um, but you said this rivals some of the Rebels and Clone Wars episodes. I mean, I think I already, in my top 10 arcs, I already had season 2, episode 7 and 8, where Senator Chuchi stands up for the clones. I already have that arc in my top 10 of across animated Star Wars. So this arc definitely is breaking the top 10, let alone ranking season finales. And like, I don't think it's going to break the series finales. I think it's still third on series finales for Clone Wars,
Right.
Rebels, and Bad Batch. But I
Mhm.
think for season finales across like there's what, 7 plus 4 plus 3, 14 of them. It's definitely top 5, like easy top 5.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take it that far and say it's definitely up there for some of the greatest Star Wars content we've ever gotten. But yeah, 10 out of 10. We've already broken it all out. I'm not gonna elaborate much more than that. So
I
Yeah.
do want to make a note here real quick though. I will give Jason props because when we were talking about
yeah, the hate in the
episode.
chat on Bad Batch, bro. I
No,
gotta
no,
stand by
no.
myself.
That's not what I was gonna bring up. I was gonna talk about episode 13. I think it was either 13 or 4 or 13 or 12 when I was like, meh, it's a meh episode, right? It was like, all right. And you brought up the point where like, well, if we saw this, if we binged the entire season, what would this like rank, right? And I agree. I would put this up. I would, if I could go back and redo my rating for that episode, it'd probably go higher. So I
That's
will
the
give you that.
problem with weekly watching. We have to start binging it maybe. That'll change our opinions on the show.
Very well could. I'll bring it home here. I can't add anything else. I go 10 out of 10 as well. I have probably been a harsher critic of many episodes of The Bad Batch, obviously with some of my earlier rankings being like sixes and like, I don't know if I ever got down to fives, but I think there have been some episodes throughout seasons 1 and 2 that were challenging to get through. But I think, like Lucas said, this was the perfect way to send off the show. And the only thing I think I could add to what you guys said is it felt like an ending to Bad Batch, but it also felt like an ending to the entire Clone Wars era, where finally we get to see the clones are free to make their decision, right? They're not brainwashed into following the Empire. They're not, being slaves of, being lab rats, whatever, But finally, the clones are at this point where it's like their time in their war is over. Now their destiny is theirs, right? And so I think it was very fitting, and it left me really happy in the end to see that the Bad Batch ended up where they were, and Omega has her whole life to live, and that's open ended. That's great. But also, I felt like there was a lot of closure with Clone Wars that we've been watching since 2008 when it came out. So just excellent writing, again, up there with best episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels. So big fan. But anyways, I think that'll do it for our Bad Batch review series. And we'll see what's next. We got a bunch of stuff from Star Wars on the horizon, other shows as well. Me and Jason were texting about Star Wars Outlaws, new video game coming out. We got Tales of the Empire really soon, and the Acolyte as well. So stay tuned for more Star Wars content coming at you.